Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate your presence here today. Before I begin, let me just say that. Thank you very much. I'm being heckled here by. Thank you very much for your congratulations. Thank you very much for your questions. I'm going to begin my remarks now.
But will you take some questions afterwards? That's usually
Justin Trudeau is out of touch, and Canadians are out of money. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. $500 billion of inflationary deficits have bid up the cost of the goods we buy and the interest that Canadians pay. The cost for workers and businesses to produce the goods that we buy. On top of that, Trudeau proposes yet more spending to bid up costs even further.
Some reporters today.
The more he spends, the more things cost. It is just inflation. Their homes and to buy a home in the very first place.
I'll put my hand up.
The reason that
look, ask the question. Is that the way it works?
So I mean, we have basically a liberal heckler who snuck in here today.
I'm a liberal heckler.
You know, I'd call David Akin a horse's ass, but I fear that descriptor might be offensive to the equine rectum community. Akin's tirade was shameful, but not really surprising. That's because back in December, Akin was also the author of a very embarrassing spectacle online. You may recall that I was physically assaulted in downtown Toronto by Justin Trudeau's RCMP goon squad in early December. My crime? I was standing on a public sidewalk, hopeful that I would get a chance to ask the PM a question. You see, Prime Minister Blackface and his fellow Liberals were imploring Canadians not to get together with friends and family at Christmas time. You know, that kind of thing could lead to COVID-19 super spreader events. But alas, Trudeau was staging a fundraising dinner at the Brickwork Cider House, and the donors were packed in like sardines. Yet again, folks, one rule for me, one rule for thee. But Trudeau didn't like that Rebel News was there to ask an impolite question, so he actually sicked his thugs on me. And they mugged me for no good reason. Here, check it out.
Get out of the road. Huh? Look around. I hit my car. Huh? Yeah. You'd like to see that.
I wouldn't like to see that at all. It needs a lot of paperwork.
Seriously?
What are you doing?
Get off me. Hey, I can... Hey, this is assault. Move. I'm on a side... What is this? I'm on a sidewalk. I am on a sidewalk. What is this? You cannot touch me. No rushing order. Hey. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Let's go. What is this? You can't. Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
Now, predictably, the mainstream media looked the other way. No crime to see here, folks. Alas, if it had been the CBC's Rosemary Barton being roughed up in such a fashion, I believe we'd still be in the midst of a royal commission right now regarding the dangers of practicing journalism in Canada. But such is the MSM contempt and even visceral hatred for Rebel News that they ignored this grotesque attack on a member of the Free Press. Oh, but not Mr. Akin, mind you. He hopped on Twitter to profess his love for Team Trudeau. Check out an excerpt of Ezra Levant's superb monologue from December 19th.
Okay, so forget the smears by that editor who, frankly, I've never heard of. Put aside the smears, she actually did say that it looked bloody awful. But not David Akin. He was trying to turn her around on this. He said, Google David Menzies and arrest. This is how he pays his bills. What? So David Akin is saying that David Menzies wanted this for profit? That this is what David Menzies does for money? That David Menzies expected this, wanted this, planned this, provoked this? And by the way, David Akin is still suggesting that David Menzies was arrested. Menzies was not arrested. He was mugged by the police, not arrested by them, not charged by them. I'll show you another tweet here. Another journalist, Alan Fryer, chimed in and said to David Akin, "Shouldn't matter, David. This should not happen in Canada." So Alan Fryer is saying it doesn't matter what David Menzies was going to ask. But Akin doubles down. He says, like I said, I'm curious. The only journalist, in scare quotes, I've seen treated this way in 20 years of covering political leaders is Menzies. It's his shtick. Fundraising theater. He gets arrested all the time. Well, I say again that he wasn't arrested last night, and a better journalist would have known that than David Akin.
Weird. You know, Akin and I worked together at Sun News a decade ago. I frequently appeared on his show. I considered him a colleague and, heck, even a friend. I had no idea he had such contempt for me. But alas, in yesterdecade, Sun News was not government funded. In fact, the network was government slaughtered when the CRTC refused to give Sun News the proper broadcasting license that would ensure its survival. Why? No reason was given. The CRTC doesn't have to give a reason, but the unspoken reason was that the leftist bureaucrats at the CRTC did not want a right-of-center TV network on the airwaves. Diversity is our strength, you see, but not when it comes to a diversity of political opinions. Oh, and by the way, I don't think Akin ever corrected the record, that I had been arrested. Hey, details, schmeetails, I guess. Besides, David Akin is too much of a big shot to deal with retractions and apologies. And now he is the Canadian version of Jim Acosta. Wow. So what is the takeaway of David Akin's Twitter behavior last December and his appalling behavior at the Poilievre presser last week? Well, I think it's this. As a state-funded journalist, Akin wants to send a clear message to the government that he is on Team Trudeau. The media watchdogs have become Trudeau's lapdogs, and Akin wants to demonstrate to the kennel master that he's a very loyal canine indeed, one that will snarl at rebel journalists and conservative leaders. You see, Akin is sending a message to Trudeau that Global News is worthy of all that filthy lucre the Prime Minister sends its way. And hey, should Global News go under, and I'll address this matter a little bit later. Well, Akin is essentially conveying to the PM, hey, look at me, look at how I'm harassing your enemies. Perhaps Akin is essentially suggesting to Justin that, the next time he makes some Senate appointments, well, Mr. Akin would be perfectly fine dropping this journalism shtick and instead continue to suck off the taxpayer teat by being a member of the Red Chamber.
Yeah, snap, snap, grin, grin, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
What you just saw was an excerpt from my nightly show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every weekday, I do a monologue. Usually it's about half an hour. Then I interview an interesting guest, and then we read my hate mail or my fan mail, whichever is more fun. It's only available behind a paywall, though. That's how we pay our bills here at Rebel News. We don't take a dime from Justin Trudeau. But the good news is it's only $8 a month, about half the price of Netflix. And in addition to my nightly show, you also get weekly shows from 4 other friends here at Rebel News. So you're getting 36 shows a month just for $8. I think it's worth it. And even if you're not quite sure, do it anyways, because we rely on viewers like you to keep us free and independent. I promise you I'll never take a dime from Trudeau. Just go to rebelnewsplus.com and click subscribe. Thanks.